Good afternoon and welcome back to Fragrant Juice, guys. Been a little while. I wanted to share one of my newest acquisitions in my Cologne department, and that is Guess Seductive Red. This is, it's that time, baby. Another fragrance review. All right, so this fragrance has been on my radar ever since I saw it come out. And to be honest with you guys, the Guess fragrance is kind of new to my collection. I have a lot of different brands, a lot of different samples, a lot of different companies I've worked with over the years. And one thing I found is that really everybody is making, it's so easy to find really amazing fragrances on the cheap. So this is what I consider, I hate saying this, I do. And I think that a lot of fragrance guys can really kind of relate to me when I say this. This is a hidden gem, right? Now again, that is subjective, but for my taste, I absolutely love this. And I'm so shocked because I didn't really have super high expectations when I got this. I actually watched Redolessence review this, and it didn't really seem like it was super over-the-top unique. I figured it was just going to be something that, it would be another safe blind buy. To be honest with you guys, if you're not familiar with my channel or kind of my taste when it comes to cologne, I'm pretty easy to please. And, I do believe you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars, even $50 on an amazing fragrance. So what I'm going to do, my reviews are pretty nonchalant, they're pretty average, they're unedited, they're raw, they're uncut, and I just give you guys kind of my novice nose interpretation of what I smell and whether I like the fragrance or not. And I think that if you've watched my other fragrances, you kind of know what I like. This might be something you might want to try. So, and honestly, for the price, as always, links are in the description of every single video, and there should be a pop-up up here saying buy now. If you want to pick this up, Amazon is the best place I've seen. For about 20 bucks, you can get this shipped to your door. Pretty amazing. All right, so let's take a look at the bottle, and I'm going to read you guys the notes and just give you guys my interpretation. Now, I do find it, interesting when a lot of guys review fragrances when they talk about smelling each and every single note. I kind of call BS on a lot of that. I think a lot of times guys want to put up a presentation and really, explain these notes and give you the note breakdown, but I personally don't have the nose to be able to pinpoint every single note that they list on this. So I'm going to give you just my overall interpretation of what do I get from it and what kind of makes it stand out. Does it remind me anything? Kind of the real world questions you might have if you're going to make a purchase. Because when I make a purchase for a cologne, when I look it up on Fragrantica, look what other people have to say. For instance, they make a Seductive Noir, which right off the bat, I'm like, ooh, interesting. I might want to check that out, right? Might want to buy that. But then I read the notes and I read the breakdown and the comparisons from Fragrantica, what people say that it reminds them of. And to be honest with you, I don't need another 1 million clone. Everyone and their brother makes a 1 million clone of a cologne, right? And so, although it's a wonderful scent, I like 1 million, I like the clones, I don't need 10 of them in my collection, So generally when a company comes out with something that's been done already, or like Designer House, they generally, a lot of times will have clones of their expensive counterparts. I like something unique and new, and I'm blown away by this because it smells like nothing that I have in my collection. There is your typical red scent, which I am going to kind of try to make sense of, but let's talk about the notes. Let me just put this down for a second. So this is directly right off Fragrantica. What I like about Fragrantica is it gives you like the main accords and the breakdown, and a lot of times, unless you have the nose of Redolessence or maybe Jeremy Fragrance, who really, they're definitely a lot sharper when it comes to being able to pinpoint different notes individually. Whereas I don't do that. Mine is really pretty basic. I basically like it or I don't like it. So, but I do appreciate that talent and that skill set. But I'm going to give you guys what I like, or what I like and what I smell with this. And what I do like is this breakdown. When I see the main accords on this being only 4 different kind of categorizations, it makes it easier for me to know if I'm going to like it or not, and to also be able to explain it to you guys. So right off the bat, they have vanilla, sweet. They classify this as vanilla, sweet, fruity, and powdery. And I think that's just the perfect breakdown of this fragrance. And what I really like about it is when you look at other fragrances, you'll see this main accords breakdown. And a lot of times, they're all kind of very similar as far as their level or their rating, right? What I like about this is when you look at the vanilla, it's the primary main vibe you're going to get from this. So if you don't like vanilla-based fragrances, I don't think you're going to like this, so just move on. And there was a time, and people might be saying, well, who doesn't like vanilla, right? Well, there was a time where I couldn't stand vanilla. And this is way back in the day, my younger years, and I think it had a lot to do with Vanilla Fields that came out for women. And it was just an overbearing, cloying, annoying scent. And there were so many, you know, so many ladies wearing that. And it became something I really wasn't fond of. I actually became more involved in liking vanilla as I got older, and my taste kind of changed, and my fragrance collecting progressed. So now vanilla is one of my favorite notes. There's just a warm creaminess to it, and honestly, I think vanilla is very mass appealing. So vanilla, sweet and fruity, that's where I start to kind of lose a little bit of interest. I'm like, you know, because I'm not really into so much. Don't get me wrong, I have plenty of them, but I tend to gravitate more towards the darker, sexy, richer fragrances, right? If that makes sense. So that was a little bit of a turnoff. And then powdery. Powdery, when I think of powdery, I think of like the makeup bag powdery kind of vibe that you get from maybe, I want to say imaginary, Midnight in Paris, right? So that has a real strong powdery vibe. So I thought this was pretty interesting. I mean, obviously red is definitely, if you just look at like the presentation, you know, red definitely kind of draws you in more than this is just your standard aquatic bottle, which I actually just did pick up. My wonderful mom got me the blue version. I forget, was it Blue Homme or something blue, I forget. But anyway, great scent as well, but that's going to be a different video. And so this one here definitely draws me in. You know, the red, the bottle, I think the gold and red is just a great color combination. And I absolutely love this fragrance. So I have to tell you, it's become one of my new favorites, probably in my top 5. Which is amazing. I hate saying that because then the price goes up, right? If enough people say that. So let's talk about the notes. So we have in the top notes fig, lemon zest, and cinnamon. We have in the middle notes orange blossom, kumquat, and geranium. Then the base notes we have vanilla, sandalwood, and amber. So when I smell these, you know, some guys will review these and say, oh, and when you open when the fragrance opens, you can smell the fig and the lemon zest. I can't do that shit, right? When I smell these fragrances, I really only get a couple notes. And that's really across the board. It's very difficult for me to pinpoint, you know, each individual note because I'm just not trained that way. So, but what do I get from this? When I look at these notes, what kind of rings to me? So definitely the vanilla. That's obvious. When I smell this, I definitely get a vanilla, ambery vibe, and a tiny, ever so slightly peppery note, which is surprising that this doesn't have pepper, but the cinnamon probably kind of mimics that. You know, remember a lot of these notes, when they are layered together, they can change and kind of morph into almost other notes. So, you know, always take it with a grain of salt. You could have all the best notes in a fragrance, and, you know, depending on the concentration, the way that they're put together, you may not like the fragrance. So, I've had that happen before. So, when I smell this, there's kind of a sharpness to it as well, which I think, you know, it does have a little bit of a fruitiness to it, but it's really overpowered by the vanilla and, of course, by that amber. It just has this warm creaminess to it. And, you know, it's hard to describe fragrances sometimes because you really have to smell them. But if you can kind of, you know, if you smelled other fragrances before, vanilla and amber together just have like this warmth creaminess to it. This is a fragrance that I would think is a little bit more geared towards, you know, the fall and the winter time, but I've said it before, you can wear fragrances whenever you want. It really just comes down to whether you're gonna, you know, is it gonna annoy you or not? It's gonna be too cloying. Like I have fragrances I wouldn't wear in the summertime as heavy as I would wear them in the winter, right? So you can still get away with it. You just might have to be a little bit lighter on the trigger. Now I don't really think that this classifies as a you know, as a winter or a fall scent, but I think that most people, you know, would disagree and say that it is. So I kind of want to go with the masses on that. And what I like about it too is I think that, you know, you do have a little bit of that fig and that lemon zest, which gives you the fruitiness and the kumquat and the orange blossom. But then I feel like the geranium kind of puts a sharpness to it where it doesn't seem so fruity and sweet. You know, if you've ever smelled geranium, it's not really a pleasant smelling flower. It has like a really kind of a sharpness to it. And I think that sharpness definitely helps to kind of balance out the fruitiness. You have the warm, creamy vibes. The sandalwood, I get a little sandalwood, but not much. If I were to smell this, I wouldn't naturally think sandalwood without looking at the notes. So to me, if it doesn't really like stand out, then I can't really consider it, you know, a heavy sandalwood fragrance. What the hell do I hear? Anyway, here to my new video. But overall, this is an amazing fragrance. So when we look at what other guys have compared this to, some people have said this reminds them of and there's not a lot of comparisons on this. This is a 2021 fragrance, so I think as time goes on, you'll see more. Two people had said this reminds them of 1 million. No way, not even close. And again, it is subjective, so I'm not trying to call anybody a liar. But to me, this doesn't smell anything like 1 million at all. It doesn't have any of the 1 million vibe whatsoever. And I think that if somebody says that they really didn't get their nose in this, or maybe they had kind of a tainted nose, you know, sometimes depending on when you spray this time of day, what you're doing, what you've eaten, you know, it may smell differently. And I'll be honest with you, there's plenty of fragrances I get. I take out of the box, I spray them, smell them outside, and I'm like, you know, a little disappointing. And then I'll try them again the next morning and with a fresh nose, and I'm good to go. I'm like, wow, that was really different. So I do find guzzling down some coffee. I know they always say smell coffee beans. I think that having a little bit of, you know, I don't mean a sweetened coffee, like black coffee, will help to kind of clear up your nasal passages. That came out wrong. Kind of clear up your scent receptors, if I'm saying that correctly. That's why you always stick your head in some coffee when you smell something fresh. You'll see them at department stores and that kind of stuff. I think it does help to kind of clear your nose and kind of reset your nose, if I'm saying that right. So anyway, other guys have compared this to a couple Ferrari fragrances. There was one Ferrari Black and Ferrari Scuderia Black. And then 4 people actually compared this. This is the one that really gets the win here. Eros Flame by Versace. So I've never smelled that. I think that a lot of times when it comes to fragrances, let's talk about marketing, right? I think that even if this is the exact same fragrance as the Ferrari ones in the black bottle, to me, this doesn't have a black fragrance vibe to it. So I think that this, you know, would make more sense if it was in a red bottle. I think that the marketing department at Guess really did a good job in putting this in a red bottle. I know it kind of sounds kind of weird, but I think that a lot of times we get different like vibes from fragrances, and we have different opinions about fragrances based on the bottle a lot of times as well. And that's, you know, not a huge part of it, but a small part of it. When I think of this, if I were to smell this and completely blind, and asks, you know, and somebody were to ask me, what color do you think the bottle should be? You know, again, we don't have guarantees, I didn't do this, but I would think that the color I would choose would be red, because when I smell this, I do think of other red fragrances. Now, I don't have a lot of red fragrances. I have Parallels 360. I have, what else do I have? I have Iglesias Adrenaline, which is kind of like a Polo Red clone. I have Polo Red. And I will tell you that although this doesn't smell anything like those fragrances, there is something about this being a red fragrance that rings in my mind as making sense, right? When I smell this and I see the bottle's red, it doesn't surprise me that this is called red. And I feel like a lot of times when it comes to red fragrances, they do have kind of a similarity. I'm not sure what that note is in common. It might be the cinnamon. I'm not sure what actually, if you guys know, drop me a comment, what actually classifies a fragrance as a red. But they do kind of have a similar vibe. Now again, this doesn't smell like any of those fragrances, but there is something about it that, again, makes me feel like, all right, that makes sense that it's in a red bottle. When I look at the brand like Ferrari in the black bottle, to me, that doesn't kind of coincide with the fragrance. Now, if it does smell like this, if they are similar, Ferrari would have definitely probably sold more of these by putting it in a red bottle. Because to me, when I see a black bottle, you know, we all see the black scents, the intense scents, the amber scents, and a lot of times when we have the intense or the absolutes or you know, the extremes, they're always kind of in that amberish kind of bottle, right? Red fragrances are kind of, you know, they have a certain cinnamon vibe to them, in my opinion. We have the black fragrances, blue fragrances. Like, you'll never see a fragrance like this in a blue bottle, you know, because blue we associate with aquatics, right? Ocean, water. Greens tend to be like more green, fruitier, you know, vegetation kind of based fragrances. So it is interesting that how color kind of does play a kind of a role in kind of your perception of fragrances. So I don't know, just you may completely disagree. That's how I kind of view it. But I think that this fragrance, again, of my over 200 fragrances by all different houses, there is nothing that I have in my collection that smells like this. And I don't know if what really is separating, because let's face it, I have sandalwood, amber fragrances, I have vanilla fragrances, geranium, lemon zest, orange, citruses. That's a dime a dozen, right? But I think what really separates this and gives it a little bit of a different vibe is how heavy it is on the vanilla and maybe that addition of fig. Now, I don't know exactly what fig smells like, but there is something different and unique about this fragrance. And guys, I absolutely love it. Some folks say the Guess fragrances don't really last that long. I don't think you can overclassify a fragrance as lasting long or not based on the brand. I think it really just comes down to the fragrance. I've had other fragrances that are like by Guess, and maybe you'll get the 4 or 5 hours on it. With this, I wore this yesterday probably around 6 p.m. and I can still smell it on my body. Of course, it does change a little bit, but you're left with this just really warm, creamy vanilla scent that doesn't smell just like vanilla. It just really kind of holds on to still being unique. I could still smell it on my arms. I could smell it on my clothing when I put my shirt on in the morning after I sprayed it on my chest and put my clothing on. I picked up my shirt this morning and it just was radiating off the shirt. So I think projection and longevity on this is fantastic. I think this is just a real winner, and this has kind of sparked me to get a couple other Guess fragrances as well. I probably won't get the Noir because if it smells like 1 million, if that is true, and again, we have to take that with a grain of salt because everybody's nose is different. Just like I said, when guys have compared this to 1 million, not even close. The other ones I haven't smelled. One person said Boss Bottled, but there are 3 of the Ferrari fragrances this has been compared to. Again, time will tell. More people will vote. Again, in time. If I go to the actual Versace Eros Flame listing here or page, they classify that as a citrus, vanilla, aromatic, fresh, spicy, woody, warm, spicy, sweet, powdery, rose. So it's really hard for me to believe that they smell similar, but you're really gonna have to get your nose on it. When I do look at the notes in between those kind of fragrances, we do have lemon. We do share that citrusy quality that this fragrance has. We have black pepper and pepper, which might kind of give you the cinnamon vibe. And again, remember, cinnamon is kind of a peppery kind of spice, right? Then we have vanilla, sandalwood, and geranium. So sometimes, people can make the comparison based on some notes that are in the fragrance that might just stand out a little more than the other notes. Just because a fragrance has, 10 different notes, it doesn't mean you're going to get 10 different notes when you actually smell it. Those notes might be super subtle. I do find a lot of times fragrances will actually add a note just to be different on the note breakdown and to build, to make people kind of get intrigued about it. Oh, this has, aquatic notes. And, I don't know if you, like one I saw the other day, I forget which one it was, has a caviar note. And to me, when I smell that fragrance, I don't get anything ocean related. Caviar has got kind of an oceany kind of, like anything that comes from the sea, there is an ocean quality to it, an ocean kind of vibe. And I think a lot of times companies will put kind of almost imaginary notes. They may still add the note, there might be a little drop of it just to have it on the note breakdown to kind of single that fragrance out from the other ones when really they're very similar, and really if you have a very minimal amount of a note in a fragrance, yeah, you can say that it's in the notes, but how long is that actually going to last in the real world, in real world performance? So just kind of keep that in mind. But Guess, awesome fragrance, knocked it out of the park. I do want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch the video. If you do like the content, subscribe to the channel. Remember, guys, links to all this stuff where I can get it where you can get it for the best value is always going to be in the description. Sometimes that's eBay, sometimes that's Amazon, sometimes that's locally at one of your local, Burlington Coat Factories, TJ Maxx. It just really depends. Always be a smart shopper. And if I can help you guys in any way, let me know. Thanks for watching Fragrant Juice. I hope you enjoyed the content. Have a great day and take care, guys.